to another edition of This Day in African American Baseball History with Phil Dixon. And of course, if you've never followed me before, let me introduce you to who I am. I'm a baseball historian with over 45 years of experience in this topic. And I do a lot of things, but one of the things I do is what I'm going to do today, and it's called This Day. So we're going to look at this day in Black baseball history. And we're going to take November the 25th. So it's going to be the November 25th edition, November 25th, November 25th. I can't talk this morning. November 25th, 2025 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. So, guys, I don't want to waste your time today with all these preliminaries. So we're about 1 minute in, and I usually try to get out about 20 minutes. So let's go right to it, all right? So we're looking at some interesting things that happened. I'm going to give you some commentary behind these facts. Okay, so let's go to November 25th, 1912. And fighting under the name of Denver Billy Pettus. Bill Pettus, infielder for Leland's Chicago Giants, and also who performed as a boxer, lost a boxing match to Tony Capone at Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Capone was quite the fighter. He fought Jack Blackburn. Jack Blackburn was the trainer for Joe Louis. And if you go to Lincoln Cemetery in Chicago, to visit where Rube Foster is buried, you'll see that Jack Blackburn, who's a trainer, died at the peak of Joe Louis's career. He's buried nearby. He has a monument as well that you can read if you ever get to Lincoln Cemetery up around Chicago. So he fought Jack Blackburn, the trainer of Joe Louis, and also Pettus is listed on Boxer's Rec. Now, I've contributed a lot of information over the years to Boxer's Rec, getting data correct and providing photographs of boxers. And it's kind of like the international boxing site for records of professional boxers. I have two brothers. My brother Howard Dixon is listed there, and a cousin, Terry Lloyd, who were professional boxers, are both listed there. Terry was a better fighter than my brother Howard, but they are both listed there. And so when you go to Boxer's Rec and you look up this record, you won't find this particular bout. Now, they do have another bout with Capone that was fought on November the 12th, which ended in a tie. But no, they fought more than once. And so these are the things that I kind of share with Boxer's Rec so we can keep that statistical place up to date. So I just want to let you know that Bill Pettus, a great baseball player, this guy played in my hometown for 1 year, 1909, with the Kansas City, Kansas Giants. And that year, the Kansas City, Kansas Giants won 54 consecutive games. You can look that up. And the first time I learned about those 54 consecutive wins was from a guy named Fred Langford, who actually was there to see it. And Fred was about 94 when I interviewed him back in 1982. And so he actually saw these games. So this is not anything that I'm making up. And then later on, through the magic of newspapers and research, I was able to verify the things he said. But Fred Langford was a real pioneer that I sat under for years, who taught me a lot. He's gone on to glory now. He's one of the ancestors, but he was pretty sharp. So just want to mention, this is information. The first time I heard about Bill Pettus fighting was from Fred Langford. Excuse me. All right. I see a few people joining. Thank you for joining this morning. Let's go to another fact. November the 25th, 1915. I keep wanting to say 19 when I should be saying 20. So 1915, pitcher Frank Whitweir tossed a one-hit Thanksgiving Day 4-0 win over the Patronus team in San Diego, California for the Chicago American Giants. The lone hit was a ninth inning single, but he still got the victory. And I keep asking this question all the time. Why is Frank Whitweir not in the Hall of Fame? And I'm doing my best to bring recognition to Frank Wickware. I think he was an outstanding pitcher. And Walter Johnson thought that he was one of the greatest pitchers that ever lived. And he even rated Wickware, who was a right-hander, above Christy Mathewson, who walked into the Hall of Fame. But Wickware can't get him much publicity. Now, I will say this. He's buried in Schenectady. Now, he was born in Kansas, Girard, Kansas. But he's buried in Schenectady, New York. And probably, maybe I say 50, maybe 40 miles away from Cooperstown, New York. So I'm doing everything I can to carry his name all the rest of the way. But it's an uphill battle. And guys, anybody who would like to help in that support of getting Wickware recognition, I would appreciate that certainly. So that's Frank Wickware tossing a one-hit game on Thanksgiving Day in California. All right, we're still going to stay in California. And let's go to the next fact. November 25th, 1920, the Los Angeles-based Alexander Giants beat the Ventura, California Bankers in front of a record-breaking crowd. Now, it's interesting when a lot of times they'll say record-breaking crowd, but when you do research, you don't know how big the crowd was because they never give you a total. But evidently it was a big crowd. And Bosch, Bausch, first name unknown, pitching for the Giants, struck out 8 and tossed a 3-hitter for the win. And there are many ball players that we're still looking for their first names. And this is just one example. I don't have his first name, but I continue to research. The work never stops. All right, let's go to November the 25th. Let's stay in 1920. Actually, we're going to stay 3 times in 1920. All right, so November 25th, 1920, Rube Currie of the Los Angeles White Sox hurled a 4-hitter to defeat Bobby Fischer's Major League All-Stars in Los Angeles, California. The score ended 2-1 in the White Sox favor. So Rube Currie, I've talked about him a lot, especially during the early 20s. Rube Currie is one of the players who appeared in the first 4, quote, Colored World Series. That's 1924, with the Monarchs. 1924 with Hilldale, 1925 with Hilldale, and then the next 2 successive years with the Chicago American Giants. Only 2 men did that. The other one is George Sweat. Now, Currie was from Kansas City, Missouri, and George Sweat was from Chanute, Kansas. So I had the honor of interviewing one of those guys, and it was George Sweat. So, all right, so we're going to keep on going. And now we're going to stay in 1920. So November 25th, 1920. Now, it's rare that I get more than one thing in a particular year that I'd love to talk about. But I have 3 things back to back to back. So this one is November 25th, 1920. Jack Johnson. You probably heard of Jack Johnson, the famous boxer from Galveston, Texas. Former heavyweight champion of the world. Now, at that particular time, he's a former heavyweight champion because he had lost the fight to a guy named with a last name Willard. And Willard, also from Kansas, they called him the Potawatomi Giant. And a lot of people, including Jack Johnson, later on said that he threw the fight hoping to get forgiveness so he could get back into the United States, and he lost his title. That was just Willard. And I've been down around Potawatomi, Kansas, because I'm a member of the Kansas Humanities, and I speak all over Kansas, so I know that area very well. But anyway, Jack Johnson, he fought heavy. Okay, so Jack Johnson, he was a former heavyweight champion, and he beat John Topeka Jack Johnson. Now, Topeka Jack Johnson, now they're fighting on this day, and Topeka Jack Johnson was a baseball player. Now, the other Jack Johnson played baseball too. I have games where he appeared against the Philadelphia Giants in 1905, playing first base. But this other guy, Topeka Jack Johnson, he was definitely a legitimate player, having played for the Chicago Union Giants, the Topeka Giants, Kansas City, Kansas Giants. I think he played for the Minneapolis Keystones as well. So he was a legitimate ball player. And so, but they're fighting because Johnson, Topeka Jack, was a boxer as well, and I may give some more bouts for him along the way as well. I'm sure I will in my this day series. So they are fighting, and at this particular time, it's Thanksgiving Day, and Jack Johnson was in jail, or as we can say, prison, for the Mann Act, M-A-N-N Act. And so they fought inside the prison in Leavenworth, Kansas. Now, Leavenworth, Kansas is right up the road from me. I know right where the prison is. And Topeka Jack lost in 5 rounds. So they went into the prison, Topeka Jack, and fought for the prisoners. And on Thanksgiving Day, how about that one? That's a pretty good one. So, yeah, Topeka Jack Johnson, he's buried there in Topeka. And, of course, most people don't know who he is, but I think he's legendary. And he's certainly legendary around these parts. And there's a whole lot we should be saying about him that we don't. So, all right. So let's go to one more. Now, we mentioned Rube Currie earlier. So we're going to go to November 25th, 1923, and we're going to come back with Rube Currie again. Now, Rube Currie pitching for the Santa Clara team. This time he's in Cuba. In the Cuban Winter League, lost a 9-5 game to John Henry Lloyd's managed Havana team. All right. So in that particular game, Clint Thomas and Edgar Wesley both garnered a pair of hits off Currie in the win. So you got Rube Currie. Yes, first you got in 20 he's in California, and then in 23 he's in Cuba. These guys got around, and if you're a really good player, you could play year-round, basically. A lot of the guys would either go to Cuba or go to California, and then some of the really good players would end up down in Florida in the hotel circuit there, either playing for the Ponciana team. What's the other one? They play, well, someone played for Ponciana team, and so they would go down there and they would play. And so you could play year-round, and one of the guys who did that real frequently was John Henry Lloyd. Rube Foster did it. So some of the really outstanding players, that's how they made their money, because they weren't making the money that they were getting in the American National League. So you had to work extra hard for your money, and these guys would just play their hearts out. We say these are men who played for the love of the game, regardless of the pay. How about that? All right, let's go ahead and finish with one more. I think it's pretty interesting. Maybe you'll like this one. This one is November 25th, 1926. So we kind of went from 1912 to 1926. I didn't go much higher today. And most of these things happen actually on Thanksgiving Day in those particular years. So how about this one? Johnny Riddle went 3 for 5 and scored a run in a 6-3 Los Angeles Colors Giants loss to the Pasadena Merchant Eagles on Thanksgiving Day in a ball game played at Pasadena's tournament park in California. Now, you notice a lot of these winter baseball games have to be played in some kind of warm climate. So here we go, Johnny Riddle. Johnny Riddle, as far as I know, never came to the Negro League, but he was prolific. And many times when the teams went out on the coast, Johnny's going to be with them, right? And so Johnny played on several teams. I have pictures of when he's with the Los Angeles White Sox, and his teammates are going to be like Bullet Rogan and Andy Cooper and Rap Dixon in some years. Who else would? Just the guys who are just going to come up. Biz Mackey was his teammate on many occasions, and he would stay out there because he had a great job. And so he didn't come to the Negro National League. Now, most people don't know that this guy, he played fullback for USC under Coach Gloomy Gus Henderson. You can look this up. Now, in those colleges, these guys are legendary for their names, but these black players have been forgotten. Now, you heard about Jackie Robinson playing for UCLA and Kenny Washington, those guys. But how many people have heard of Johnny Riddle? Johnny Riddle, I tell you what, the reason he never came to the Negro National League because he became an architect. And he worked right alongside of a guy named Paul Revere Williams. Now, if you ever go to Los Angeles and you see that space age air traffic control center, kind of looks like, say, something that was in the Jetsons when I was a kid. Well, he worked alongside Paul Revere Williams, another black man who built that. Most people don't know that a black man designed and built that. And Johnny Riggins was a part of his architectural team. So they built many things around Los Angeles. An interesting thing, years ago, I went to a funeral in Los Angeles at the Angeles funeral home. And when I went to the cemetery, to the funeral home, that funeral home was built by this same architectural team. Now, what I will also mention is that Lyman Bostock, who played for the Minnesota Twins, and then he was one of the early guys who received the free agency big contract. And of course, he was murdered during the game in maybe 1977, 76, 78, somewhere in there. And I talked about that a few days ago. But when he was murdered, I wrote his wife, and I sent her a letter. And she, a condolence letter after he passed away. And she sent me back a thank you. And it's on the Angeles Funeral Home stationery, which is the same place that Paul Revere Williams built, and Riggins working on his team, or Riddle, working on his team, helped create. So once again, here's a little more history, guys, that you won't catch anywhere else. And I just want to let you know that you can find this kind of history right here. And so if you like what I'm doing, hey, go ahead and subscribe and come on back, because I'm trying to drop knowledge. Now, I will get from time to time, people come in and they want to drop crazy comments. But I tell you what, we talk sports here and we learn here because sports are important to our culture. And so I try to make sure that you have powerful information. Hey, maybe you can win some arguments over this. Hey, who knows? You might want to be a person who talks about this kind of stuff in your community, all right? So I just want to thank everybody for joining me today, and this has been the November 25th, 2025 edition of This Day in African-American Baseball History. By the way, my name is Phil. I go by Phil, like Philip S. Dixon, Dixon, and you can go out to Amazon and all kind of places and pick up some of my award-winning books. Not just books, they're award-winning books. So I thank you for joining this morning, and I will come back again. So if you like what I'm doing, by all means subscribe, and we'll keep building this network I've been on for a while. So, all right, so somebody's asked me a few questions. I do want to say hello. We got someone, hunting with Hutton. Okay, hey there, hunting with Hutton. Somebody said, what team does Lamar Jackson play for? Yeah, you know he plays for Baltimore. Come on, guys. That's easy there. So, yeah, we have a few other people that were there. Somebody says, God bless. Let's see, looks like Frog VR, somebody there. So, yeah, guys, thanks for joining in. And somebody said, The Real Cheese. That's an interesting name. Hello there, The Real Cheese. So, throat's a little scratchy, getting ready for Thanksgiving here tomorrow. So, we will do another broadcast, but thanks for joining, and I'll see you real soon with another edition of This Day in African American Baseball History. Have a good day, guys.